How to reduce delayed onset muscle soreness. What's up, everyone? Coach Tony from Bonvec Strength, and I was talking to a new lifter the other day who had just done their first training session, and they were super sore afterwards. Now, I'd given them fair warning that they were going to be sore, but it really kind of took them aback how sore they really were and how much it made it really difficult to kind of move about their day-to-day activities. The first thing that makes you sore more than anything else is exercise novelty. So when you're doing something new, when you're starting to train again for the very first time, or if you've been training for a while and you come back around to an exercise that you haven't done in a long time, that tends to make you really sore. Things like exaggerating the eccentric portion of a lift, so going very slow on the way down, such as lowering the bar to your chest very slowly on a bench press, or going very slow down to the bottom of the hole in a squat. That tends to lead to more soreness. When we're training, we're not necessarily trying to get sore. It's not necessarily our goal overall, but having some soreness in the target muscle groups is usually a pretty good indication that you've done enough to induce some sort of muscle growth. If you're never getting sore at all, you might not be training hard enough, or you might not be using the right exercises. But here's the problem. If you're sore all the time and it interferes with the quality of your workouts and it interferes with the quality of your daily life, that's a problem. So how do we reduce that? You can't undo the damage you've already done in the gym, but there are some things to help DOMS pass a little more quickly. And what I found is that a lot of times newer lifters who experience like absolutely crippling DOMS after a lift, when we talk to them, when you think about it, they're not necessarily doing the things outside the gym that's going to make them recover faster. So it's not necessarily the way that they're training, but it's the way that they're recovering and the way that they're taking care of their bodies after the fact. The first thing, and perhaps the most reliable thing that you can do to reduce DOMS, is eat enough protein. So we know protein is incredibly important for building muscle. It jumpstarts the recovery process. Anybody who's trained for an extended period of time probably uses whey protein powder. Using whey protein after lifting is a really convenient way to get your protein in. It's very fast digesting and seems to be more beneficial than just about any other type of protein in helping recover and build muscle. So making sure that your protein intake is high enough, especially post-workout, is going to help reduce DOMS in the short term. The next thing you can do is stay moving. Continuing to move around and exercising the next day, even if you're really sore, goes a long ways in relieving DOMS. And that's because recovery is largely aerobic. So you need to consume more oxygen, you need to get blood circulating around the body, and that lets your lymphatic system, which is basically your body's drainage system, remove inflammation, remove cellular damage that happens locally. And that's what happens when you lift weights. You create localized damage that your body then has to get rid of before as part of the recovery process. Doing light aerobic exercise like going for a walk, riding a bike, or simply just going through the warm-up for your next strength training session. Anecdotally, we have a lot of lifters who come in who are super sore and not really sure if they feel like training on that given day, but once they just go through the warm-up, they feel so much better after the fact. So just stay moving. Active recovery can help reduce DOMS in the short term. Next, and certainly last on the list, will be things like ice and using NSAIDs like ibuprofen, acetaminophen. Things like this will certainly make you feel better, but we find that they interfere with the training process and that they tend to rob you of some of your strength and hypertrophy gains. This is not just me saying that. That's pretty well vetted in peer-reviewed research. And the reason for that is because both ice and NSAIDs tend to interrupt the inflammatory process, which is actually a necessary part of getting bigger and stronger. Inflammation is necessary for recovery, and obviously if you do a workout that's way harder than what you're typically used to, your inflammatory response is going to be very high, and you're going to feel like shit after the fact. It may be tempting to put ice on a muscle group that's really sore. It may be tempting to take some acetaminophen or some ibuprofen. And if you are absolutely miserable and you're not able to go about your daily life, then by all means, do what it takes to feel better, but don't make it a regular thing to ice sore muscles or to use pain medication to get through the soreness, because that is going to interrupt the training effect that you're trying to get. How pronounced is it? It's hard to say, but you just don't want to make it a habit of using those crutches that might rob you of exactly what it is you're trying to achieve through your training. If nothing else, maybe just examine the other things that we talked about. Maybe your training is simply too intense for your own recovery abilities. Maybe you're not consuming enough protein, and maybe you're not doing enough active recovery in the form of light aerobic exercise to recover. You want those things, the ice and the pain medication, to be an absolute last resort, and only use those if you feel like you're unable to recover to the point where you can go about your daily life. You can't undo the damage you've already done in the gym, but you can be proactive and take these steps in order to make the DOMS pass more quickly, so you can train again more effectively sooner than you would if you were really sore.